Kevin Aspas from the Jupiter Drawing Room is joining us in studio now. The last time he was here, he predicted that retailers in South Africa would take a hard hit over the festive season. Now he's here to unpack what actually happened. Hello.
Good morning.
Now, how was your festive season?
It was actually really nice.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's always, I guess, at the end of the year to have a bit of a rested break. I think everyone always deserves it.
Now, last time you were here, you said that retailers and business in South Africa would take a hard hit over the festive season. Did we see that happen?
Well, let's put it into a bit of context. I think what happened with the figures that have come out for November is actually November was a slightly better month than people were projecting.
Right.
So that was quite a good sign. So when we unpack what's happened in the festive period, I think what's happened is that the value retailers seem to have done better than they were expecting. So it's bottom end, people who worked the sales hard, but consumers believe they're getting good value out of them. So I think those ones have actually shown good results. We're still waiting for final figures at more of the top end retailers. Our projections are that they're not going to be very strong, especially at the very top end. Signs going into season were that they were looking fairly weak, and I do expect those figures to show a bit of a decline over the December. A lot of things happened that I think worked against them. Some of them out of their control, like the rolling outages, which I think affects a lot of the very formal shopping centres, where there's a lot of impulse purchasing that's going to happen. And that just doesn't happen. So I think a lot of those people are going to actually be feeling the knock-on effects of rolling outages on top of quite a depressed Christmas period.
And there's nothing we can really do about rolling outages. It is what it is.
It is what it is, and I think what I guess people have got to put some type of system in place to try and help them around that. Some sectors are hardest hit, and that's quite obvious. So restaurants, fast food outlets, you never regain those sales at all.
Right.
And then in other areas where people are really looking for something, possibly cellular phones, or where people have actually made up their minds they want to purchase something, I think a lot of those purchases will come back at some stage. But then there's a lot of middle ground where in fact there is impulse, a lot of clothing and incidental purchases that just does not come back to retailers. So they just never regain that. It's one of those items that I think that South African retailers have to build into their plans going forward. It's not going away.
Now, how do we work around that? How do we start building something like load shedding into our business plans?
I guess one is having some type of format where we can keep electricity on in your actual store, and you're not reliant on the shopping centre or someone else in actually providing that. So you've got to make that decision yourself. And then maybe there's some type of system where you can, instead of just closing the doors and trying to usher the consumers out, is some type of system where you can actually try and keep those sales still going in the store. So I think there has to be a bit of imagination in actually make sure that you just don't lose the business.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you mentioned value retailers did what they were expecting to do in December. Which retailers are we speaking about when we talk about value retailers?
So value retailers would be the ShopRite, Massmart type of offering have done well. It goes into the clothing areas of the Mr. Price. Cotton On haven't revealed what I haven't seen their figures, but I would imagine a Cotton On has done pretty well as well. And then you go up into, I would imagine that people like Foschini has actually done reasonably well. But as soon as you lift above that into slightly higher price pointing, I think that there's going to be very much a softening of sales above that.
Why?
For a number of reasons. I spoke about the outages, but also I think people are under such pressure that they would actually rather trade down and get some type of value. So even the top end consumers are looking for something, and the offerings at places like the Mr. Price, the Cotton On, the Macros, I think they're gaining good traction, even in consumer groups that previously would not necessarily have considered them.